Hello again, everybody. Welcome back in. In this video, I wanted to talk to you about roster construction here in DC Dark Legion. Where is it that I decided to develop my account? And depending on your spending level, where could you turn to? Especially with how the bleed calendar lays out. And then for all of those that are in the earlier servers and you're starting to get those reruns, then you can start making an informed decision as to what you want to backtrack to and what you can possibly solidify. All right. For my purposes, the one thing that I want to show you here is the main composition that I decided to invest earlier on, and that was the Justice League Dark. Now, for me, the primary driver here is Constantine. All right. So that is one of the characters that I decided to really drive early on. And that was the one that I invested a lot of the ambles that I had collected on. And as you can see here, Satana wasn't really somebody that I decided to invest on, but I knew that she was going to complement Constantine. So at least I got her to 5 blue. But that's essentially kind of the composition that I put together here with the Justice League Dark, because we already had Raven and then Dr. Fate available to us and Wonder Woman. These are all characters that are already mythic. Well, Wonder Woman is legendary, and then you're going to be able to ascend her to be a mythic hero. So given that these 3 heroes are already part of the summoning system and you're going to be able to get copies of them, it is a very convenient composition that you can put together. But this is all in if you do decide that Constantine is going to be somebody that you're going to make a major investment on. All right. And by that, I mean, especially if you're a free-to-play player, what I mean by that is, you know, you're getting him to the blues. You're trying to push your ambles to at least get him into the blues. Get that 3rd star, that 4th star. Just give him a little bit more damage, right? And then you can make a complement with all the other heroes that are really available to you. And then if you want to, you can go after somebody like Satana. Satana is just there to boost his damage. But there are other heroes that you can plug in play here, especially if you're looking for extra DPS or you're looking for extra survivability. There's other avenues as well if you just want to allow Constantine enough time to do their damage. So Satana here is kind of the wild card, is the optional. She's the plug and play, because depending on the composition that I'm going up against, I could plug in somebody like Deathstroke, or I could bring somebody like Sinestro in here, you know, to do the extra damage. Just little things like that, depending on who you decide to add your account. But Justice League Dark, yeah, easy type of composition to put together. Now, Raven, they got charged for her in MetaBrawl very early on. But then Wonder Woman is also in there. So you're going to have to kind of make that decision as to where you're going to save it. Where are you going to save that currency? Are you going to save it to try to get Raven elevated and evolved? Or you're going to wait to get Mythic Wonder Woman and then get her into that yellow range, right? Because after you ascend her, you'll have her at least at purple. So that's kind of the decision-making process that you go there. Now, remember, Bleed Calendar started out with Superman, and then went Joker, and now we then have Sinestro and Deathstroke, and then Constantine came in somewhere in there with Satana. So as you start planning out as to how you're going to invest, this is the type of discussions that my league mates are having, because some of them decided to go Justice League Dark. Others, what they decided to do is go Bat Family Teen Titan kind of hybrid. So for this example here, what I'm going to kind of show you here is that the major driving force here is going to be Nightwing. So this is the one that you're going to have to make the decision if you're going to make the heavy investment. Now, as you can see here, he is still blue. I did not really pursue this composition to be together, because at the time, I really didn't have all these other cast of characters really evolved. I wasn't relying on them. They were not the ones that I was striving for. But I have seen very good compositions put together that include Nightwing, especially if you're getting, you do make heavy investments, but you can bring in somebody like Batgirl to boost his damage. Of course, then you have somebody like Red Robin here that can tank things up. If for some reason you have your Robin very highly evolved, you can use them to try to at least do some damage. But I have seen several combinations here where people then, if they want to make sure that they bring some extra healing, they can plug in somebody like Raven, or they just go with what they have, somebody like Cyber here. And down the line, if you do decide to get somebody like Starfire, yeah, you can bring her in for that extra Teen Titan boost and just at least provide a little bit of healing. So there's definitely combinations here that you can play around with if you do decide to invest on Nightwing. But that is where that is the key for that type of composition if that is something that you want to push together. Now, the other one that you can rely on, especially for those of you that are low spend, free to play players, is Justice League. This is where you're going to, because the first character you're going to get is Superman. So everything that you can put possibly together here is around Superman. So let's say you bypass Justice League Dark. Now you open up Wonder Woman for something like this, right? You can put her part of the composition. But let's just say that you did decide to go Justice League Dark and you're using for that composition. Hey, Shazam is not a bad choice. I actually, in some situations, especially when it comes to the training simulator, or for even just to put a little composition, like a third or fourth composition together for the Guardian Challenge, I say, hey, Sam is not a bad idea. He has a taunt. He can distract people while everybody else around him is doing the damage. But this is something that you can definitely put together very, very early on. If you decide to do the $5 investment on getting a level 25 Batman and you want to keep working on him, that is somebody that you can bring in here as well. We have very good healers like Mira, part of this faction, and that you can rely on. There's definitely nothing wrong with that in trying to use her for that regard. And then you have somebody like Green Arrow. Hey, some of my league mates that are free to play, low spenders, still utilize Mira and Green Arrow for those type of purposes, especially when it comes to Guardian Challenge or anything that requires to put like a fourth team together. Checkmate. If they just put a squad for the league together, they'll just throw these two in because they can do some damage, right? And if you want to at least do some burst for damage to, pump somebody like Superman, you have Flash, depending on how lucky you are, how many shards you can get him, and how highly evolved you can get them as well. So that's the end of the composition that you kind of possibly put together with them. Now, down the line, let's say you decide to get Martian Manhunter from the Bleed. He is going to give you a little bit of an option in terms of doing counter attacks and doing damage due to counter attacks. So if you wanted to, you could definitely put him in the front line. He'll complement your Justice League team. So that is definitely another avenue that you can go for. And if you're not using Cyber for something like Teen Titans, he provides defense reduction. You'll just boost the damage of your composition here together. But this is kind of the faction that I look forward to and try to advise people that are low spend, free to play, in terms of trying to invest on if that is what they want to do, especially if Superman then reruns. All right. So that's that composition there that you can rely on. All right. The other one that you could possibly use, especially for something like, Umbra Rift, if you decide to go for Joker, because he does do a lot of damage in this type of situations, or you at least trying to put something together, right, for a Guardian Challenge, and you're not a very heavy spender, but you can get, shards to get somebody like Poison Ivy. You're going to be able to get her into an account. Two-Face, he'll come in as well. Bane, that is somebody else. These are easily accessible heroes that you can bring in together. Just down the line, you're just going to have to make the decision. Do I want to get somebody like Joker? Do I want to get him 2-3 stars into the blue? Just to at least give me some damage somewhere. So this is another type of composition you can put together and that you can possibly use in something like the training simulator, or just put something together for a Guardian Challenge or the Ultimate Battle for Gotham, just something like that you can bring in. Eventually down the line, you're going to have to decide whether you want to add another DPS unit here, or you want to take advantage of the faction by adding Catwoman or Penguin. But if you decide to add somebody like Scarecrow into your account, this guy is going to bridge Legion of Doom and the Arkham together. So that is he opens up some options for you. So when I started playing, I wasn't really spending a whole lot in the game. I at least got him to the 5 white range, so I got 2 copies of him. Just so at least I knew that I had the possibility to bridge these 2 factions together, the Arkham Knight with the Legion of Doom, because I did have heroes like Lex and Killer Croc available to me, if that is something that I wanted to use. So let's say Bane wasn't highly evolved, but I did get a lot of shards for him. I could possibly use him as well. And if one of the possible suggestions that you're going to get is, if you can, is to get Sinestro into your account and then skip Deathstroke, especially if you're a low spender. Deathstroke is a whale bait, all right? He is going to unlock MetaBrawl 3v3 for a lot of people. And to make Deathstroke competent, you need to get him highly evolved, all right? So for purposes of free-to-play players, low spenders, typically we advise them to not consider Deathstroke. Maybe down the line, if you decide to start spending and he comes back around, then that's probably the way to go. But somebody like Sinestro at least will give you a little bit more in terms of what you are able to do down the line. Because Sinestro doesn't really need to be in the Legion of Doom team. You can plug and play him. So he can complement a Justice League Dark team. He can complement your Justice League team. He can complement an Arkham team. It's somebody that at least allows you to do that extra damage that you need. Now, if you are a spender, hey, you know what? You're going to go for the Legion of Doom cast, because this is the cast here that essentially will drive for you MetaBrawl. This is the composition that a lot of people rely on because of the high energy boost that they get at the beginning. They're going to unleash their ultimates, and you're just going to take down the opponent really, really quick. So if you're a spender, yes, of course, you're going to go for something like this, and you're going to try to utilize it to the best of your ability, especially if you decide to go for a Deathstroke. So since we're here in MetaBrawl, just to kind of give you an idea of the type of compositions that I do run, this is going to be one of them, because we do know that there are 3 heavy DPS units here, and Wonder Woman is going to try to allow me to stand. So I'm going to put this together. I'm going to make this work for me. So let's just go ahead and click auto, and just to give you an idea as to why I decided to put something like this together. And as you can see, it's just Deathstroke went after one with the highest attack, right? So he's out of the way. Then Sinestro focuses on somebody else while they're getting control in the front, and then it just allows them to finish off. So that is part of why I decided to use a composition like that. And the last composition that I want to kind of highlight, because this is something that you're going to have to make a decision, is whether you're going to try to put the Superman family together. This is a spender composition, all right? You need to invest heavily in somebody like Supergirl and Connor Kent to make this composition pop, especially Connor Kent, because Connor Kent drives Supergirl. Crypto is already available. Now, Crypto can be a plug-and-play healer in any composition, so you can use him anywhere, all right? But if you're going to try to make the Superman family work for you and do the amount of damage that we know that they're capable of doing, and drive the combat cycle, very, very high scores, you're going to need to make very, very heavy investments on Supergirl, all right? And with that comes trying to get Connor Kent into your account. So there is no ifs, ands, and buts about it. You're going to, if you want to try to bring the Superman family together, yeah, Supergirl is going to be the major driving force here. That's the one that you really want to invest on. So you're gonna have to make that decision for yourself. If that's somebody that you wanna go and sacrifice everything else to try to then put together because you like the Superman family. All right. So that's the best piece of advice that I can give you in terms of whether you decide to chase for them. If you decide to bypass a Constantine, a Sinestro, Nightwing to go after a Supergirl, Connor Kent, that's fine. Yes, they will do very well for you, but they're not a really heavy emphasis on something like MetaBrawl 3v3 if that is something that you want to focus on. Because something like a Legion of Doom composition can take him down really easy. If there is a Justice League Dark team that is really well protected by a Dr. Fate, they can definitely take this composition down. This is more of a PvE type composition. All right. So just keep that in mind when you do decide if that's what you're going to want to do and chase somebody like Supergirl here to form that composition together. I hope that kind of gives you an idea of the type of rosters that you can put together, especially with the heroes that are readily available to you, right? Because they're just mythic. So you're going to be able to get them as you summon them, or you're able to get the shards available to you for something like the login reward or from the MetaBrawl shop, just as an example, right? And then what type of heroes you can bring in to complement those heroes, make them stronger. And then there are other heroes in the bleed calendar that you can also do plug and play with. So something like this is an example that I can give you, right? If you decide to go for somebody like Constantine, make an investment to try to complete the Justice League Dark. And if you just want as a standalone, try to go for a Sinestro to get you some extra DPS, that is something that is available to you. If you are very low spend player, you have options here with the Justice League team. Just as a general idea, because we do have Superman as being one of the first characters available to you. If you decide to invest on a Joker, for example, you do have a very nice complement here, especially from the Arkham faction. This faction has seen a boost. They're doing a lot of more damage in things like the Comet Cycle and Umbra Rift. So that's something that will then allow you to get a little bit more resources. You can develop those jets and then help you advance in end game content. Also, we do have some heroes that are really strictly more for the pay to win players. So, you know, if Deathstroke is somebody that you can definitely skip, Supergirl is somebody that you can skip. These are compositions that you need to heavily invest on to make them truly reliable. So take advantage of what the game is giving you, because there are some heroes here that you can get. And then based on the bleed calendar, you can then decide which ones you're going to want to invest on. To close it out here, I'm going to, again, bring in the Bat family. These are heroes here that you can get fairly easy. The major driving force here in terms of investment is going to be Nightwing. So if you see the bleed calendar, you come in with a Constantine, bypass Sinestro, and then decide to invest heavily in Nightwing. At least you'll have two very good compositions, and then plug and play with the third and fourth one as you need it. But that's kind of how you can think about trying to put rosters together here in DC Dark Legion, and then based on the spending level, that will decide primarily where you're going to be making a lot of your investments on. Thank you all very much for tuning and watching. If you did find this video helpful, please remember to hit the like and subscribe button, and I will see you all in the next DC Dark Legion video.